Greetings, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are. And it's my pleasure today to introduce our guest, who has been a YALDA lead graphic designer, Jimmy Oriada Enenu. He's a guy I've known for a while. It should be more than 2 years. And I believe he has a refined form of art. And most of the YALDA design that you've seen out there, he has been the one taking them on head on. And he has come in handy at any other time during the boot camp. Most of the designs you'd always see online have been done by Jimmy. And also Jimmy, from his own background as a speaker who was supposed to be at the iBoot camp, I think he mentioned like he deals in fine arts, uh, refined arts. I think he can talk more about that when we start the conversation. But at this point, I'll allow Jimmy to introduce himself. Then we can go to the agenda. Jimmy, you can come in and introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you, Valencia. I go by the name Oriada Jimmy, graphic designer. 2004, right? I left campus. But my roots run deep in art. Right from a young age, I used to really love art, and to my parents, it was not a pleasant thing because they wanted me to take another branch of professionalism, mainly the economics bit. My mom probably liking agriculture, but still, my love for art was above all that. In graphics, right way out of campus, art alone was not enough for me to survive. It would take like a year making a painting, but at the end of the day, the African market, most people don't appreciate paintings. They don't appreciate art that much. Making me venture into graphics. This alone would help me push the boundary, push the envelope further to get more of the income. Because with graphics, you can take a minute, take a month, take 2 days producing a design, but at the end of the day, when it comes to production, it's going to be in millions. So I entered into graphics right after my diploma at campus. I studied at Nkumba University in 2002. Right after that, I left campus and started looking for a job, but I couldn't get any. Art alone was not enough. By the time you go to a printing house, they'll ask you if you know how to print, but the money itself comes from the side of the graphics. So putting myself into the shoes of a graphic designer, I had to learn the tricks of the trade by studying all the software that are basic, from Paint to the professional one, Corel Art, Corel Draw, Photoshop, Illustrator. To an extent, I don't know if any of you are familiar with a software called Quark Express. I had to go to that length to learn, and it really pushed me further. Now, the African market is kind of funny. Most people take advantage of graphic designers. They think the services they provide are free. My first job, being an embroidery artist, it was a good paying job, but at the end of the day, oh, sorry.
Okay. I think Jimmy, thank you for the introduction. I'll step in here then. Okay, I'll then replace. I'll just share the agenda for today. Then we can proceed with Jimmy on board. Okay. So this will be the agenda for today. As you have all seen, Jimmy is an Emeritus YALDA designer. He has been here for a while, just touching on how he was in campus. Like he has said in 202, that was the time he left. That was high school. So with that, I think you're going to get more information. So diving into the agenda, today we're going to talk about the graphic design experience with YALDA that Jimmy has had. the impact creating through graphic design and creative arts, because he has a vast experience dealing with different creative arts, opportunities for young graphic designer within Africa and around the world, how to set yourself apart in a competitive graphic design and creative arts market, and graphic design short demo, and tools for the future. At this place, then we're going to have like maybe a demo from Jimmy, any demo you can do then. Also from the team of graphic designer have on board, any person who wants to demonstrate something, any findings or illustrate or anything, or has a question that he would like to demonstrate live, then that will be good to go. Then finally, we're going to have the Q&A session. So at this point, Jimmy, I'll call you back to do your experience with the graphic design experience with YALDA. So I'll call you back to talk about your experience on graphic design with YALDA and how has it been so far.
My experience with YALDA, it started way back in 2008 when I met Hulela. That's Bukamu. I call her Bukamu. It's easy for me. We met at MOOBS. It was one of those days when I was now deep into it. I couldn't get out. I met Hulela I met Bukamu in the second conference of YALDA. It happened in Uganda in 2008. And with that, they needed services of a graphic designer. I came in as a graphic designer to create the major piece, which is the logo for the conference, and the peripherals, the T-shirts, the conference books, the conference bag, the pens, the banner. From that time, we formed a relationship with YALDA up to today. Anytime there is need for any art that is any graphic piece that needs to be produced, I come in. It has been that.
Thank you, Jimmy, for that. Recapping from what Jimmy has just said, that it's way back in 2008 when probably you were having the
second YALDA conference.
YALDA boot camp at Uganda. And
yes.
From that recap, we can see that Jimmy has been a key contributing person towards the graphic designs. I'm not sure if he's the one who did the logo, but he has been specific the logo for the boot camp that time, and probably all the YALDA boot camp until the recent one. I'm aware that most of the graphic designers here have also engaged in the YALDA boot camp, maybe the AI graphic designs that I've shared or maybe did at some times back. But I believe you have done some incredible job, and I've been listening with you most of the time. And not just about the amazing job you do, but I think the graphic design, and from that experience, I also know that Bukamu entrust you with that. He believes in anything. When any design was like, okay, this is not going to work, we will always go to you. So I'll go back to the next question. It was about the impact creating through graphic design and arts. What can you talk about impact creating through graphic design and arts? Maybe from experience, all the engagement you've had with YALDA or any other company, any other opportunity you've had in Uganda. By the way, before I continue, I have to mention this. When I knew Jimmy, I thought he was a Nigerian. So it was until recently when I decided to check his WhatsApp number, then I saw +252. So, it's from Uganda. And that's when I always thought for you to be a Nigerian, like Jimmy, Oriada, or Enenu. That for me was a Nigerian. Then I just discovered he was a neighbor here. I think Jimmy can come in and talk about your graphic arts and opportunities for, the impact creating through graphic design and creative arts, because you don't do just graphic design. Was it that there's a type of painting that you are talking about? Then you can also talk about that. Jimmy,
okay. So the creative industry in Africa, graphic design is really, really very powerful. Like if you're to see the major need for graphic design in Africa and what gives it the greatest payout when it comes to social advocacy, mainly campaigns and the likes of those and these great companies. The great companies that we have, the big companies, say World Vision, UNDP, and the biggest parastatals that we have in the country, we can say the banks and the government organs. Most of them need graphic designers. They cannot do without graphic designers because day in, day out, they're running new campaigns to promote their products, to make promotions, to introduce new products, to run adverts on awareness. But the biggest of all, when it comes to elections, those ones really pay out. A greatest example right now, previously, the previous campaign that was held in Rwanda, I managed to be one of the producers of the t-shirts that are used for the campaigns. That socially, it creates a big need for graphic designers to be present in society, just to design and to produce. When you produce, you get a bigger payout on that. And then the other bit, our culture, culture, we need to preserve our culture. Graphic design contributes a lot in Africa, especially in the preservation of our culture. We have our local products that were made before, and it is a one-off. But if you to find like the chitenges that we put on these days, those ones were designed those days by hand. But right now, the graphic design can allow us to produce it in masses. You make one piece, and then you produce it in masses. And with that, there's a very big market. Who doesn't like Ankara? So on the other bit, the paintings, the African art, we majorly never used to do paintings. Sculptures, that one becomes another hard bit, but for the paintings, once you produce one painting, 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people can have a copy of that after it is reproduced using graphics. And the other bit is majorly job creation. There's a very big need for graphic designers. As me alone, I cannot do, like you can see a great example, the jobs that are being pushed forward by YALDA. Most of them cannot be done by me alone. Other people need to be around for them. Other graphic designers need to be around for us to combine efforts to push it forward. Like most cases, I've been very piled up with work. I can get a call from Valencia. I can get a call from Bukamu. I can get a call from other YALDA representatives to make a piece. But it finds in a time whereby my desk is full. So with that, you'll find that other graphic designers need to exist for us to all finish up. Imagine YALDA being one client, but the demand for work is really much. I can swear to you and tell you that up to now, I'm being demanded some work, but the volume of it all being pushed needs a lot of people to push it forward, to make it get out. And then the other bit of it is education and skills development. There are so many programs in Africa right now that are pushing for graphic designers to develop their skills. Education, once you're an experienced graphic designer, one of the ways you can make some bit of revenue is putting up a small school. There's always going to be demand for new blood, where you have a specific style of design. One person can learn under you, and then they use the tools that you know to bring a new impact in the society, which I know if all the graphic designers in Africa can also tap into that revenue of putting up schools and helping other people out, and at the end of the day, getting something out of it, it is really, really great. Back to you, Valencia.
Thank you, Jimmy, for those critical comments. We're going to move on to the next question, but before we move to the next question, I'll just recap some of the things that Jimmy has said. The graphic design space and creative arts has a lot of opportunity for young people still in this space, and we understand we have a lot of graphic designers, and also coming from different backgrounds. It's not a must that you have to be a graphic designer from graphic design and that, or maybe film and animation. Some of you took degrees in different fields. We can say it should be sociology, maybe in science, things like that. So some even taking political science, then others taking even law. But it's just through passion, then you can access and tap this market through graphic design. Also adding on to that, Jimmy has talked about the opportunities available, the creative arts, what like Africans wanting to embrace our passion, the design that we want to do in Africa, just keeping trace of our background, in interacting with nature. We see most of those arts, most of those gravities out there, not only maybe on the social media, but you can see even our matatus today, what to say, matatu or buses, they still have art. So there's a lot of art, tremendous things about art going on, including wall paintings, some for the freedom fighters, things like that. So we're going, I think also Jimmy has talked about the opportunities and it was opportunities and for young graphic designer within Africa and around the world. I think he mentioned about creating people creating their own schools is a way for seeking employment. Like if you are skilled and you're a graphic designer and you know like it's your passion and you know what you have the skills, then that's a way for to create a employment for yourself. I've seen people, some of the graphic designer working with the schools, maybe going back at home, trying to find schools that want to revamp their logos, things like that. And from my observation, like working with Jimmy and also working with the different graphic designers here we have at YALDA, I've realized that different people have different passion, and they all of us have a different line of thought. People like this is what they can push forward if it comes to graphic design, and some even do film, some do animation, GIF, but it's all up to you. So Jimmy, I'll just come back to you. You just mentioned about the education, creating place where people can learn and also what was it again? There's that part of learning and opportunities, job creation opportunities. So I'm not sure if you're going to add something about more about opportunities for graphic designers within Africa and around the world. Like now, you're not just supposed to push within Africa, but across the world, different platforms. If you have any other thing to add on that, Jim, you can still talk about that. That was on Agenda 3, opportunities for graphic designers in Africa and around the world. If you can add on that, Jimmy, you can come back.
Yeah, now there's so many opportunities for graphic designers. You see, being a graphic designer opens up your head to being a creative small person. To be a graphic designer, you need to have this kind of thinking that say you may be only sitting on a computer, but other opportunities are out there to be explored. There's photography that goes with graphic design. There's cultural art that goes with graphic design. There's a lot that is combined in graphic design that makes the work come out. So with that, the opportunities are so many. Number one, you can you can become a graphic designer through freelance. Like you sit in your office and then you get work sent to you. You do that remotely. Doesn't need for you to be employed in an office to do the graphic design. And then going back to the first point going back to the first sentence that I mentioned, being a graphic designer, you need to open up your head. And most cases, most of them are open, free thinkers. At the end of the day, you'll find challenges that are coming before you that need to be addressed, but you need to think out of graphics and then you bring it into graphics. Right now, I can assure you that me being a person coming from an art background, the kind of work that I do right now may be surprising to most of you, but I still do graphics. I've entered a space which is to the extreme. now I'm into renovation of buildings, but you can see where that leads us, where I come from, being a graphic designer and venturing into the other. But what I can say is, once you've opened up your mind, there are rare opportunities in graphic design that can be explored. The second point that I was mentioning about this is bring a freelance. You can work in your office, which is at home, at your own pace, but you deliver the jobs and get paid. That is one. The other bit is you can create a design hub and a creative studio where other people can come in and tap into the knowledge that you have. And with that, it also pays. There are so many creative hubs in Uganda that we have. We have a few in industrial area, and in all those, whoever wants to get a community of designers can get into that space and find others also there working. But in the meantime, there are so many collaborations that are going on between graphic designers and the other people that are working in those hubs, because it's all under one digital kind of environment. You'll find graphic designers working in collaboration with web designers, graphic designers working in collaboration with audio and sound producers, graphic designers working in collaboration with design studios that majorly produce the posters, banners, and t-shirts. Then you'll find graphic designers working in collaboration with the small market, which is printing, mainly books. Because with books, it's something else that it is so graphic intensive. Imagine designing a book that is about 1,000 pages, and each page has some bit of picture in it. It becomes really hard. But in the communities where, in those hubs, this can be done. And one can also create an online platform that can help groom up other designers. With that, you don't need to have them physically in the hubs. You can have them study online at your own pace. But this is actually catching up these days. I can see chefs teaching people online. I can see musicians giving audio lessons online. But it hasn't yet cropped up properly in Africa, which also has to be done. It's a new field which can be explored. But graphic designers in Africa will also have to take in this as an opportunity to get some bit of revenue. Though it may be charitable, but revenue bit can also come in. And the other bit is getting into branding, full board. Like there's there's a very big need for branding. I, for one, have worked for a branding company, and it was labor intensive. You can work for hours, but the pay is handsome. Right around Africa, be it in the north, be it in the south, there are so many companies, especially producing drinks, and then the ones producing the telephone companies. They have a very high budget for graphic design, which, if you own a branding company, you can get loads and loads of money doing graphic design and producing. Majorly the graphic design and producing, it can really pay off properly. Yeah, back to you, Valencia.
Thank you, Jimmy, for those insightful thoughts and or mentioning all the opportunities that are available in the field of graphic design. I think with that we can recap, but I believe Jimmy has mentioned most of the fields, and I think all our listeners are tuned in and are taking note of what has been said. I think you've talked. You have encompassed around 7 key opportunity areas And the last one I've seen, the venturing in brand companies and tapping into telecommunication. I think graphic design is everywhere. Like now that we have even social media, we have media going to the socials. If you have like a home television channels, this they're now going to maybe YouTube, they're going to Facebook, digital marketing, everything is going up to to a design because it's all about user experience, everything like that, brand experience. Now there's that niche of the story, but there's also that part of the arts and creativity. So that's where the graphic designers come in. And from those thoughts, I believe you can pick a niche area. Maybe most of you have already started doing this. Maybe you know one bit of the other, but there are some points that you can still explore and get to know more about them. So going on to the next point on the agenda, I think this was Jimmy. You can come back and tell us maybe what can set you apart as a competitive graphic designer and in the creative arts market. Like as you mentioned before, and based on my experience with you here at YALDA, like mainly there's some design that you always think about them like easily and quickly. What made you to be that's proficient in graphic design? What can set someone apart from the other when it comes to graphic design, and maybe things like that? You can come back and talk about that, Jimmy.
Yeah, majorly to succeed in the graphic market, you need to create a unique style for yourself, because you are not going to survive by copying other people's work. You need to create your own style, and with that you'll be known, and it will become your signature actually. If I may take the opportunity to share some of the works that I've done for YALDA, you'll find that they kind of have my signature, and most of it are the gradients that I put at the background, and then some watermarks that run through the work itself. This alone will, if you set up your own style and the market gets to embrace it, trust me, it will be a smooth ride for you as a graphic designer, because every other person will be coming back to you because of that style. Another bit is you need to build a very strong portfolio. It starts from way back, the little things that you do without earning the money from. Say you can create designs that go on different medias. It can be t-shirts, it can be caps, it can be books that you need to sell. If you create that all to fall in your portfolio, because at the end of the day, every other company that is going to come to you to get design services, they'll ask for your portfolio, which is very important. Regardless of it being a sketch, it has to fall in your portfolio. You can have a portfolio that runs 50-page deep, but showing everything that you've done. Right now, if I'm to share with you my portfolio, it comes way back from the time when I was at campus to the sketches that I made. It plays a very big part. It's the most important thing that you can ever own as a graphic designer, your portfolio. It should be a strong one, having an array of work from sketches to rough work to notes. All that must fall in your portfolio. And then the other bit, you have to specialize. Right now, to me, I fall in between places, but the graphic design that I studied at school, it never really cut it through. When I got my hands into the computer and studied these softwares, I had to get an area for myself to fall in, and that was in majorly branding. It is very big. And with branding, there's the audio bit, there's the visual bit, and then there's the print bit. You need to get where you fall. And almost forgetting about the other bit when it comes to websites. With all that, one graphic designer cannot do all those things. You need to have one that you fall into for people to know you as a person of a specialty, so that they know me as Jimmy, a graphic designer. I fall where? Majorly printing. But with printing, I need to have some little bit of web design so that the files that I share in printing can also get compatible with the websites that are going to be shared too. And then you need to, this one is very important because at the end of the day, it's what makes money. You need to be a problem solver. The people out there have ideas in their heads, but you as a graphic designer will have to sharpen your skills to bring that to reality. And with that, that is a very big problem, as in you as a person, you need to put other people's dreams into reality. And that is the other bit that pays. You cannot be a graphic designer that runs away from people's problems. I, for one, I can tell you, with my experience with YALDA, I've had countless times whereby we have a rough interaction whereby I have a brick in my head and I need to get the reality that needs to be executed to life. And with that, we make file number 1 up to the end, whereby we even end up failing to name the file, and you give it some crazy name like last night 123. Yeah. So getting back to the main objective about this, you need to be a problem solver. And then the other bit is there are new techniques that are coming day in, day out. You cannot be a graphic designer and stay on one part of the track, as in you're on the right track and you fail to move forward. At the end of the day, the new trends that are coming forward will run you over and you'll become obsolete. Like I can tell you, how many of you have done work on a computer, and at the end of the year, the new software comes out and it has new serious updates? You need to have those updates, and you need to have tools to support those updates. Like say, if you operate with Photoshop, you'll find yourself in need of other photography tools that that support the enhancement of photos. And these tools get updated each and every time. Then the software bit, you cannot have it. Say, for example, now I am running a software of 2004. The computer will not even allow it because there's no hardware that can run it. Hardware and software help graphic work to flow properly. So you need to be on top of your trend to do all that. Like every year you upgrade your tools, every year you upgrade your software, and you get to know the new styles of graphic design. In 1 year, you may have a book designed in a following way, but the other year, the book or the newspaper will have to have a new change. Then the other bit is you need to create yourself a personal brand to survive. You need to have a brand that falls with you. Yeah. You need to represent yourself in the world, and it should show visually. And a strong personal brand will help to bring people to you and associate a certain name to your style and level of quality. If you create a brand for yourself that is powerful enough, at the end of the day, even your recognition will be seen, you'll be recognized internationally. We have artworks and brands that are prominent in South Africa, and they reflect in the other parts of the world and in Africa as well. Like prominent brands like, I may bring in these examples later, but for all this to be produced, it comes from a vision of a graphic designer and creating it and pushing it forward to be appreciated by other people in the world. And then the other bit is you need to set yourself apart by building a good network. You'll not be a graphic designer that is locked up in a room, or you lock yourself up in an island not knowing what's happening out there. A social network with other graphic designers will help sharpen your vision to see what's out there and compare it with your own to make yours even better. And then the other bit that is really important is you need to leverage social media and content creation. Your work will not make profit in this era if you don't embrace social media. You need to create some kind of, in Uganda, we call it kavuyo. Yeah? You need to cause some kind of chaos in the social wave to make your presence felt. Social media is driving a lot of businesses to serious profit realization by making a lot of noise through it. And since everyone is on their phone most of the time, who are we not to create some bit of havoc on it for our presence also to be felt and our services known? It's a must. You cannot just be, like I can say it again, you cannot be on the right track and just sit there. You need to know what's happening and keep moving. It's a great thing. Thank you. Back to you, Valencia.
Thank you, Jimmy, for all those insights. And I believe all those graphic designers or anyone who wants to get more knowledge on graphic designs and what like to set yourself in the graphic design industry. For those who want to do, as you've said, there's that bit of print. There's also virtual, there's audio, and I believe there's also film. So different people can take different niche. And now I can see we have GIFs, we have the graphic design that's decide to there's those tied to satire, then there's those tied to animation. So animation, video production, audio production. Of course, every music that you'll hear outside there, when the video is coming out, when the audio is coming out, there's always that poster or maybe that banner that goes on with what's the song, name of the song, and who's the artist. So those are the things that you can take from this. Then every niche that you're taking in, you can focus on one niche, keep updating yourself on the upcoming trends, and you can diversify yourself. But you have to take a particular route. If it's audio, if it's a video, it's a print, either route that you take, you should just be consistent and tap into it fully. Then we have the next point on the agenda. It should be graphic design. This is a short demo and tools for the future and current graphic design. I can see Jimmy, you are on your phone. I'm not sure if you'll be able to give us a short demo there, but you can still talk about the tools of the future and for the current designer. So I think you mentioned this at the start, but you can still come back on it and talk about the tools for the future, or maybe the current ones and ongoing trend in the graphic design industry. Jimmy, back to you. And if you have any demo, any design that you want to show us, you are already a co-host. You can go ahead and present your screen too.
Okay. Thank you, Valencia. I'm not on the computer right now, but we will have this conversation again in future. Maybe even we can have it bi-monthly, so that I can prepare all those tools to be ready to show you some good examples.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So with this, the major process in graphic design starts with you visualize the concept. You do some bit of research, and then you visualize it, make some sketches, because that acts as a guideline to what is going to be realized at the end. Without a sketch, you cannot just sit on a computer and start doing it free of head. At the end of the day, you will find yourself running the job or the assignment for a very, very long time. You need to have a guidance. The sketch will act as a key. The research that you'll do about the colors that the client wants, the kind of font, the pictures to be used, all those need to be combined together for the vision to come to reality afterwards. The major one, say you've already finished making the sketch. If it necessitates you to do some bit of scanning so that you don't deviate from the vision that you have, you can scan the image. Right now, even using our smartphones can make it easy. There are so many scanning softwares that one can utilize online. You just take a picture and then transfer it to the computer, and then you start from there. You draw over it. After that is done, you've gotten the rough sketch drawn out. Now you start polishing it out with the major design softwares that we have. You have a major one, which is a serious tool that most designers use. It's Adobe Illustrator. With that, you'll create a vector format that will act as a guidance and easy to change, because with it, you will not lose any bit of pixels. If you're not comfortable using Adobe Illustrator, you can go ahead and use CorelDRAW. That will also give you the graphic, the vector kind of quality that you need. But there are others that are also online. Oh, no, sorry. The third one that I can say is another one called Quark Express. Quark Express can either be used as a graphic software that you can use for producing a book like Adobe what? I'll mention that later. You need to have all these tools, the major ones, to execute. After you're done with Illustrator, you finishing touches in Photoshop, to bring in the renders, to bring in the lights and the shades, to enhance them properly. But this alone, for someone who is starting, you may not have the money to buy all this software. A full package of this software, the Creative Suite, is way expensive compared to most of the computers that are on the market, unless maybe you get a free demo of the software, but it will not last too long. The software alone can run, for it to operate, it needs to be activated, and the activation alone, yeah, thank you, Yusuf. The activation alone can cost you about $1,500. Before I was saying, thanks YouTube. InDesign is in comparison to Adobe. InDesign is comparable to Quark Express. So you need to arm yourself with all these softwares that are very, very important. You may not be able to buy them, but you can go to a person who has installed them on their computers and you borrow to use. If you cannot afford it entirely, there are other software that are online, or online activated softwares like the likes of Free Canva, that is also a vector software. There's that one is a major one actually, and I would recommend someone who does not have the software, you can begin with it because it has so many tools, it has templates, and it's easy to use. Even a beginner can start with that. I would clearly like to encourage anyone who wants to get into the graphic field to, even if you may not be an artist, you may not be a software guru, but these days, the way software is being pushed forward, the way it's being developed, you may not necessarily have to pay a big sum of money going to a graphic design school and you get the knowledge. You will find yourself able to use these softwares because they have guidance with them. These major ones, the online ones like Canva, the tools are there. You can create a logo after visualizing it from your head. There are so many other tools. There are so many other templates that you can use on the software itself, which will make your life actually very, very easy. After the logo has been sketched and produced, the vector is produced and finished in Photoshop, there are other bits that you need to consider, which is the color and the final touches. But all this, you must look at the other part which is the client, I'm doing this, you're doing that for the sake of being paid. The client has to be in sync with each and every step. From the time you've created the sketch, the client has to confirm to the time whereby you're going to vectorize it and give it some bit of bezels, give it some bit of strokes, or you make it plain and thin. Depend on the style and the guidance followed from the sketch. The client has to be the client has to be given a report on each and every stage, and they have to confirm, because at the end of the day they have to pay for it, and you don't want to work and your time is not paid for. Now, if I'm to go to the major feature tools that every graphic designer should have, I would advise for everyone who does not have the full suite of Adobe to embrace it and use it fully, because the Adobe guys have actually pushed the envelope when it comes to graphic design software. Each and every year, there's a serious update about it, and it gives you serious levels of comfort using their products, because one can relate well with the other. And then if at all you're not comfortable using it, or you didn't start with it and you started with CorelDRAW has also now gone further and have really pushed it another level up. This the picture software is perfect, and actually they've even pushed it now forward. They've now pushed it to another level, that they have a serious video editing software that goes along with the graphic ones, just like the Adobe guys having Premiere and the rest. And then majorly the software bit, if you handle and invest in software, you don't have to forget about the investment that you need to put in the hardware, because you're having a powerful software and having weak hardware, you're not going to survive. Your computer is going to crash now and over. You need to have serious investment in your software, and then serious investment in your hardware. You can, for example, right now we have a processor that is running on for those guys who are running PC machines, the highest processor that we have now is the i9. By time is going to reach whereby the i7 processor is phased out, and basically most of the softwares that are running right now cannot run on 4 GB RAM. You need to have a RAM that is strong enough, like 16 GB going onwards. The software that I didn't actually mention about, like the likes of Infinity Designer, SketchUp, Procreate, because most of these, you'll find there are those that are way prominent on Windows, and the others that are way prominent on the iMac. But what I can say is, I, for example, a person who majorly uses Windows, it gives me a lot of freedom, because the software that we use can cut through. Meanwhile, there's software that you use on the iMac that cannot get installed properly on the Windows side. So with that, you need to have yourself software, and you need to have yourself a hardware set up properly. The other bit is, after all this, the major bit is after this work, after you've gone through the stage of sketching the artwork, and you go through the stage of producing the vector bit. If it is not vectored, it has raster, and you've gone through the Photoshop to work on it, it's all great. But at the end of the day, as the client paid you, you need to have the convincing tongue to lure the client to give you the production job, because being a graphic designer alone is not going to be enough. You'll produce the work, painfully. You'll produce the graphic design painfully. But at the end of the day, you need to earn bread. You need to produce this work for you to make money. Otherwise, if you design it alone and the person you've designed it for takes it for production, at the end of the day, the person who is producing your work is going to earn more money than you, the person who has designed it. So this is to me, and to me, this is from me to you, graphic designers. You need to
Jimmy, I think we are losing you. It should be your internet.
get the work printed to your specification and the client specification. Actually, it will even be better for you to run it through the printer, because at the end of the day, you know how your work is supposed to be printed. And it will give you serious leverage, because you've designed the book, now it is in production. If you design the banner, is it in production? What are you getting out of it? If you've designed the logo, how is it going to be used? Can you get some cut?
You are on mute, Jimmy. Can you? We can't hear you. You went on mute. Oh, you can check your yeah. You can unmute,
Hello?
Jimmy. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay. Yeah, you
Okay. Yeah. Where did you lose me?
We're talking about production, like when you have designed your maybe a logo, you're going to produce it. When you have designed that design it with production, yeah.
Yes, I can say that again. You cannot go through the pain of designing work and then you get paid for only the design. You need to get revenue from the side of production. Imagine you go through the stage of creating a logo, and this logo is going to be used for embroidery. The logo that you've designed gets to be used by an embroidery designer, and the embroidery designer will give it to someone who is going to produce the embroidery pieces. You alone as a graphic designer should be able to think out of the box, so that most of this revenue comes back to you. Say you've designed a logo for, say, a communication company, a telephone company. Now it gets back to you. Can you get some bit of revenue from it in production? Because at the end of the day, you will know, or the client will give you an order for wanting serious volumes out of that. The design alone will not be enough to give you the money, but you need to get from the production side of it all. I'm bringing in this from experience. I did some work for campaigns in Rwanda. I was not the person who produced the campaign t-shirt design, but I managed to get into production, and the production bit gave me more revenue than the colleague who had actually designed the campaign t-shirts. And then the other bit is, at the end of the day, it's all about you making some money out of it, making some bit of profit. Even as I said in the introduction, the social bit in Africa, as in before, we used to do designs using like the clothes we put on, we used to do one-offs and very nice pieces. Right now, if you can think out of the box and say, an artist has created this, and me as a designer, I can create something out of the computer using the different kind of art forms that are available. It can be a piece of fabric, it can be a book, it can be a painting, it can be a logo, but at the end of the day, aim at mass production. Produce the work, get some revenue from mass production. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for for all those comments. I think we are all now aware of what we need for graphic design for the future. And from what Jimmy has talked about the softwares, I can recall it. He mentioned Adobe being gone. Adobe has gone full force when it comes to design. So they are providing different softwares. Is it Illustrator, Photoshop, what all the softwares for the designers? You know these softwares already. Then there is CorelDRAW. I think Jimmy has touched most of the software. Then to add on all those items, Jimmy has talked about from design to production. So as a designer, you must, like most of us, we are young people. Then when it comes to production bit, you might say how are we going to produce it? But it's true collaboration. Like for you to get profit, it's not a must for you to be owning that production company, but you might know someone who owns a production company, and you might liaise with him with your graphic design. Then there's with that, and that happens in Africa. We have different social campaigns. Then we have the political campaign. I think that during the political campaign, that's when a lot of printing goes on, including, I don't know what they call leso. What do we call this? Is it rugs? The one ladies wear when they are just relaxing, or maybe um, attending to the house chores, something like that. Then we also have the umbrellas. We have all these type of A3, A4 campaign posters, things like that. So when it comes to that, that's mass production. Then we have these campaigns where now we're like in Kenya, we have been having even demonstrations. Designers still earn on it. Even banners, just caps. When people are demonstrating and you want to brand something, that's still a design. It's a design issue. So, guys, you can take note of that. For production, you can still go ahead with production. You can partner with a friend. You can know a friend who knows a friend. Then you can do and collaborate that. Instead, for you to have the design, then tell them to wait, because most of the clients are always they're always in a haste. Then they may try to find another person. So you can collaborate with the person you know, then make the deal together. I think that was an observation which Jimmy has made, and it will be important for you to take note as a graphic designer or anyone who wants to venture into graphic design. So at this point, I think if you have any question, you can bring your question forward. Just before, this was a slight question that was, I think I was in conversation with another graphic designer. So he had a question, like maybe Jimmy, like most of your designs, somebody might can take your design and maybe want to maybe edit something on it, maybe make it a publisher document. Then he was asking how can you convert this like a flashcard or a poster into a publisher document. I know some of the designers already know this, but Jimmy, if you are there, you can respond. And any other graphic designer who has a question, feel free to open up and ask Jimmy any question as we come to the close. Jimmy, you can come up on that. How do people get publisher from Adobe?
Okay. So if you want to convert any document in Adobe to publisher, so to an extent, it may look like it may give it a downgrade pixel wise, but if you have no option, it is still very possible to do it, because with Adobe, you have all options open. Like if it is, say for example, Illustrator, the pixels don't exist in the vector format that is in Illustrator. But if you're to convert it to publisher, it will have to be by default that these pixels will have to exist. So I would advise you, if you want to change any image in Adobe Illustrator to publisher, number one, you need to save it as you can save it as a PDF. If you cannot save it as a PDF, save it as a Photoshop document. After you've saved it as a Photoshop document, you open it up in Photoshop and then save it as a JPEG. With that, you'll be able to open it up in Publisher. From Publisher, there, the editing abilities that were all existent in Illustrator will cease to exist. the best you can do is, if there's any text that you need to add, you have to save that image in Illustrator or Photoshop without the text that you need to be edited. I can take note from some of the newsletters that are produced for YALDA. Since their time crunch, I had to create a background image in Illustrator that is with all the vector elements, with all the vector elements being present in it. After I create a space for the text that is going to be placed. So I create it, and there's going to be that space that is going to be free. No text in Illustrator, created without the text. Sorry for that. I create, can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you, Jimmy. Yeah.
I create the image, I create the artwork in Illustrator. After it is done, deviate of any text apart from the major text that have the background on them, and all the logos placed properly. Where I'm going to place that text, I leave it free. I either put a background on it, or I put I put all the major elements away from where I know, where my vision, where the text is supposed to go, and then I save it as a JPEG or a PNG in Illustrator. No, not in Illustrator, in Photoshop. After you've done it in Illustrator, you take it, you open it in Photoshop, and then you save it as a PNG or a JPEG. But remember, the text that you're going to place in Publisher, that space should be free. And then you'll have the opportunity of opening it up in Publisher. But the major thing that you need to consider as you're creating this, you need to consider the size, because the size that you're going to have in Publisher should be the same size that you're going to create in Illustrator as well. We've had instances whereby you have a logo, you have a poster that is square, that is square, and the artwork that is getting transferred to Publisher is a rectangle, whereby if it is like this, it gets squeezed. So imagine if you have an artwork that is big like this, and then it gets squeezed to half of this, all that content will look like it is mashed. It's better to have the same attributes in Illustrator, then you can transfer them to Photoshop, because with Photoshop, you'll be able to enhance some of those color elements that are in there, and then you save it as a PNG. You can save as a PNG, you can save as TIFF, but the size has to remain the same. And then when you create the image, when you create the new file in the Publisher, the size is the same as the one that you created in Illustrator, that was exported to Photoshop and saved to be imported in the Publisher document. If you need any clarification, please, you can always ask me.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy, for.
I hope I was clear enough and there's no confusion.
Yeah, you're clear enough. So for that, I think he was not able to join. He's in Nigeria, so maybe he'll get some time and also watch that. Of course, I'll direct him to the part of the video, so maybe to get updated. But if anybody who wanted to know about this, that was the information there, how to convert these files using the Adobe and also the Illustrator bit and also the Publisher bit. I've never used images in TIFF, but I've also heard about that. Then we have also PNG, JPEG, that are the common images type we use. So that's all to take in. Anyone who has a question, you can direct the question to Jimmy. Anyone with a question? Anyone with a question?
Oh yes, Valencia.
John can come in.
I don't know whether there's someone who had already prepared to answer a question, but I'll just come in quickly. So I have 3 questions. I hope they'll be answered briefly. So one of the question, okay, first of all, thank you, Jimmy, for the session. It's an informative session to all of us graphic designers, and we are learning in one way or another. So my first question is on AI and graphic design. So we are aware that there is a lot of usage of AI, and apparently AI might replace all the graphic designers, be it in companies, organizations, workplaces. So there is that perception. So what's your take on that? And then my second question is on you've mentioned something to do with the signature when you do your designs. So do you have an example of a signature that sets you aside from the rest of the design, or just the format that you do your design, the style, the fonts, or what do you mean by the signature? Or like, is it you insert your logo there to show that this was designed by Dor, this was designed by somebody else, something like that? Is that what you meant? The final one is on the file exportation. So most of us, or if not all, so you might find someone might export a file on Illustrator, Photoshop, or InDesign, and then when you upload it on Facebook or any other social media site, you find that some of the posters are pixelated. So what kind of resolution do you export the files, let's say on Photoshop? Because I understand the way you export a file or an artwork on Illustrator is different from the way you export a file on Photoshop and as well InDesign. For me, sometimes when I use InDesign, so sometimes I do use InDesign, and most of the artwork that I export with InDesign, whenever I upload them online, they lose quality compared to the ones that I export from Illustrator and Photoshop. So please advise on that. I think those are the questions for now. Thank you so much. I had sent a message that my phone will be going off soon. Sorry for that. So hopefully I'll finalize the meeting with you guys. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, my brother.
For those questions. I think, Jimmy, you have the 3 questions for you.
Yes.
You're noting them down. You can just come in and respond to all of them chronologically.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, my brother. Now, when it gets to AI, it hasn't yet reached, it is not yet too far. Entirely, everyone is threatened by AI, including the people who in the creative industry, like say songwriting, video production. But I can tell you this, there's something special about a human being that cannot be replaced by AI. If I told you to look at the kind of quality of AI content that exists, say, in the major social media platforms right now, we have TikTok, we have Instagram. Those are the major ones. Those are the major ones that I see AI content running through. But with the naked eye, you can clearly see that this is plastic. This is a lie. It is still going to take a very long time for AI to take over the jobs of a graphic designer. But still, even if it does, AI alone will not be able to control production. You can see what's happening.
We lost you, Jimmy. Jimmy, can you hear us? Okay, it's your bandwidth has gone low. Jimmy, we can't hear you. Can you still hear us? Jimmy, we lost you. I think we can't hear Jimmy. Maybe it says internet. Okay. Internet. Jimmy was kicked off due to internet issue there. Let's see if we get back.
We need to set ourselves apart by embracing all the tools that come before us. Let it be AI. It shouldn't be scaring. AI, at the end of the day, it remains in the software world, but it's not going to come in. It's not yet. It hasn't yet reached the level of coming to the physical one, whereby it will erase you to become obsolete. No, you have to embrace it. If it is AI coming over to help you as a tool, as a designer, embrace it and use it. It shouldn't get that scary. And then you talked about the signature. Mainly, I meant it's not like say my logo being embedded on all the work that I do. No, it's just my style of work. You can, if you to look at most of the work that I've done for YALDA, we have majorly gradients, and these gradients are the major parts, are the major bits that mainly set my work apart, because I use these gradients at the back and the watermarks. These watermarks are not entirely font having my names on it. No, it's just the style. It can be a shape, but these shapes are kind of fading into the background, giving it another layer of beauty. File exportation. This one I can say, for you to maintain the quality of your work when you're exporting it, one major export format that you can embrace is PDF. Any work that is exported through PDF, the resolution will remain as you've sent it. The problem that we majorly face when it comes to InDesign, the file can, the book or the editable, the publication that you're working on may have hundreds of images, and those images, if you're to export if you're to export the image entirely, you'll find that it's going to be a serious challenge having all those images come out visible enough. So what you need to mainly do is have your links for the images present in a specific folder, and then the graphics also in a specific folder, but all properly linked. At the time whereby you're going to export, it will now come to you that I want this to be viewed, say, online. And what kind of audience is going to receive it? Is it someone who just wants it as a report, or someone who wants to look at it as in an entire document and they need to read it to entirety? The biggest challenge, I also face it. Most of the times I get myself designing work in InDesign, but the time when it reaches the time of exporting, it can be a file that has a weight of about 200 GB. But that 200 GB, a person would want to load it and and read that document on WhatsApp or read it over email, of which if you're to send it through a link, it becomes an entire day of download. So you need to see a way of editing these images, especially the pictures that you have. You edit them to have a low resolution in Photoshop, and then have those linked with the ones that you have in the InDesign. There, at least it will help you save on the weight of the image GB-wise. I don't know. Is there any other question? Was I clear enough?
You're clear. John, was your question answered? All the question, I think.
Yes. Jimmy has answered all my questions. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you, Valencia, as well.
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy, for answering those questions. And I believe do we still have any question? Yusuf, Chisomo, Rubarashe, any person still having a question there? Do you have any question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, Yusuf can come in.
Okay. Thank you,
You're welcome, Yusuf.
Jimmy, for the section. I have a question about you have talking about color drawing. I'm not familiar with that software, but I want to know the difference between the color drawing and Illustrator, or which is the best software for doing graphic design between color drawing and Illustrator. Thank you.
You're welcome, Yusuf. Now, the difference in between this, I'll leave my handles on so that we can get in depth with all this. Illustrator, Adobe is a different company that produces software on its own, and CorelDRAW also produces software on its own. All of them were almost formed in the same period. I can say they run about how many decades now? These are all companies that are started within the 90s, because that was the time whereby computers were coming up, but that time the computers that were coming up could not handle graphics. Most of them used to majorly operate text. But when it reached the year 2000, computer manufacturers had to take another route whereby people were hungry for more gigabytes. So the graphic design world had to mushroom. This software has mushroomed in a way that them being the service of graphic design being demanded, Adobe formed their companies. They started with a software called, I think, PageMaker. Should have been a PageMaker, yeah, because there was need for graphic for page editing in the newspaper industry. So with that alone, Adobe came up with PageMaker, and now it doesn't exist. It was replaced by InDesign. And then CorelDRAW came up with CorelDRAW came afterward. CorelDRAW came afterward after Adobe, but both of these have similarities. And if you're to work with CorelDRAW, it will be very easy for you to export your files to Adobe Illustrator. Meanwhile, in Adobe Illustrator, it's kind of hard for you to export your files to CorelDRAW, because entirely what I may think is CorelDRAW came after Illustrator, so they want to take some bit of market from the Illustrator, from the Adobe people. And if you are to go price wise, the Adobe suite, which consists of the Illustrator, Photoshop, and the rest, it is a little bit more expensive compared to the Corel suite. But right now, with the development and the upgrades that have been given to both of these softwares, trust me, they all compete almost at the same level. What I can say is the Indian market has embraced CorelDRAW because of the price and the advantages it stands. CorelDRAW is user-friendly when it comes to most of the industries. The industry of embroidery has CorelDRAW embedded in a software called Wilcom. With that, once you install Wilcom, you will have what? You'll have you have you have a top up of CorelDRAW on the side, and then the other bit is still it doesn't take away the advantage that the Adobe suite has. Adobe having its files edited in graphic, in vector, raster, and then go to the other bit of sound and the web. These softwares kind of correlate with each other, so it's very easy for you to export one file from one software to another. The same goes to Corel. With the softwares that they produce, it's very easy for you to export from one Corel software to another. But the guys who are producing Corel, being market aggressive, their files can be easily exported to any if you look at the down button when it comes to save as, you'll have Illustrator somewhere in the software save options of Corel, but you will not have it in the software save options of Illustrator saving direct to Corel. No, it doesn't happen. Yusuf, is that clear enough?
Yusuf, was your question answered?
Yes, yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome,
Okay.
Yusuf.
Thank you, Jimmy. So, Jimmy, I think we have come to the end of this session, and maybe you can just give.
Question I saw somewhere.
There's a question.
There's a question I
There's
saw
question
somewhere.
in chat.
How do you
Chat.
communicate? How do you communicate design concept to clients? Okay, you can respond to that, Jimmy.
How do I?
It's from Chisomo Mvula. How do you communicate design concepts to clients?
Oh, that is at the beginning. You start you start by the research. You number one, for any client to give you a job, you ask them the option. You try and dig into their brain. Like, you ask them, say, what color would you prefer? What would you prefer to be in the design that you want us to produce for you? You take all these notes, and then after you've taken all those notes, you go down now visualizing or giving birth to the design itself. You sit down, make sketches, and you correlate these sketches to the notes that you took from the client. After that is done, the concept, it now being realized, you share that with the client. After taking those notes, share the sketches that you have with the client. When that is done, you now go to realizing and developing it. You develop bit by bit. After sketching, start now in it body. If you need any picture that the client wants, you get that picture incorporated in your design. If you have any logo that the client wants to be incorporated in the design still, you get that also and you add it on, so that you have a list of development. Start from the research, what the client needs, then now you get down to the sketch. After the sketch, now you get to the development, and the development will now push you further. When the final design is confirmed, you now reach production. Is it going to be used for web? If it is for web, that might be the end where you stop. But if it is going to further, like say printing, you still have to go for the printing option that the client wants. So communication with the client starts with the research majorly. Then you go to the sketch. After the sketch, you go further until production. Is that clear enough?
Isomo, is the question, is the response clear? I think he's in a place where he can't speak, but I think you tackled the question well, and I believe he took note from that. So,
You're welcome, Somo. He has answered.
okay. So I think we have come to the close of the session, and before we close the session, I think you can maybe give your final remarks, any word of advice, just 1 minute to graphic designers out there. Any closing remark?
Yeah, we can close this, but I'm not entirely closed. My Valencia, you may share my contacts for anyone who needs help. Any YALDA member, of course, is free of charge. I can give you help anytime. You need my help with anything. I'll give you advice on how to maneuver through in a challenging bit. When it comes to embroidery, can help you. When it comes to branding and and web presence, I can still do some bit of help for anyone who needs. Uh, you guys have to place yourself in a position whereby your head is open for any work that comes before you. You look at it as in, at the end of the day, I'm producing this, but am I really going to gain something out of it? Because you're not going to sit on a desk for yourself or working for someone and the revenue does not come in. You have to be able to feed yourself. You have to be able to self-develop, and you need to be able to scale up to the level whereby you have capital to have machines that produce all through the computer that you have. So embrace most of the trends, embrace the tools, embrace our culture, embrace your surrounding and utilize it, because there's a lot of potential in graphic design. There's a lot of revenue in graphic design, but it's how you tap it that matters. So you need to set yourself above what you think to get good revenue out of graphic design. Like everyone else, you see, the people who are doing the simple work are getting simple payment. At the end of the day, if you do simple work in graphic design, simple tasks, say you end up making small, say, logos for restaurants, and you end up making small school badges. Those ones are not going to give you revenue. Everyone else is doing them, and you need to set yourself apart. You have a good network of graphic designers. You have a good you continuously invest in the software that you have, continuously invest in the hardware that you have. That alone, one job alone, one or two jobs will give you enough revenue for you to move from being a graphic designer to being a graphic designer that produces. There, I see it as in the whole of Africa, graphic designers will make good money out of the works that they do, if at all they embrace it in that way, and not only remain on the side of producing design. Thank you, Valencia.
Thank you, Jimmy. I think that we have come to the close of the session, and I want to appreciate the time you have taken to join us, and also appreciate the time most of the graphic designers have taken to join us. I believe this recording will be available on YouTube, and everyone should circle from the calabash of the knowledge that you have shared here about graphic design, and should be for any further future reference. Anyone who wants to tap into graphic design, get that knowledge. We appreciate your time, Jimmy, and it's a pleasure always connecting. And for your contacts and details, I'll share with them to the graphic designers, and they can get you when they want to reach you, when they want to reach out to you. And also, of course, we can stay in touch, and in case of anything or any communication you want to liaise with them, I can always do that, or invite them on board. Thank you, Jimmy, for your time, and
No problem.
everyone,
You're
good night. Thank you, Jimmy.
Good night, you all. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good evening, good morning. See you next time.
See you all.